and then realized that I've studied a lot of real life serial killers. So my search history would get me screwed if I ever got in trouble. But I've searched.
Hey guys, welcome to Inside Comics with George Michail. Really quick, if you like this kind of content, subscribe and tell a friend about it. Today my guest is writer Will Peden. Will, thanks for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you have a new comic book out. It sounds amazing. It's like Dexter meets professional wrestling. I'm loving this concept. It's called Heel Turn, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But I want to talk about first the little tips and tricks that you've learned about doing Kickstarter, because this is your second try on a Kickstarter, and you're coming back stronger this time, and doing things a little differently. Can you tell us what you've done to make Heel Turn be a successful Kickstarter this time?
For sure. Number one, the pre-launch. I've learned that helps out a lot. Getting the name out there. Don't just wait until a week or two before. Start as early as you possibly can. I didn't realize Kickstarter, you could just basically have the bare bones up there and get a pre-launch ready. That way you have the link. Mailing list, I've been growing it. I still grow it every day any way I can. Promotion, every social media group, any way that you can afford to promote. You don't necessarily have to have thousands of dollars in advertising budget to do it. Obviously that helps, but your passion help it. Get in there, get into podcasts. Personally, I've watched, like, for instance, your show. I've watched Comic Launch with Tyler. I've all over the place. I've kind of watched anything I can on YouTube. Guys that had successful Kickstarters, guys that have failed, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. For instance, for me, the last time I was emphasis on like rewards and stuff, trying to entice people to come to it. I didn't do any kind of promotion. I literally launched it and then tried to just send it a couple times on my Facebook in a few groups here and there, and that was it. This time, I've had family, friends, anybody and everybody I can send out the link, promote it. I promote it in every little group I can, not just for like horror fans, but now I'm promoting it in wrestling fans, horror fans, comic fans. There's not really a serial killer fan, but the genre of true crimes and stuff like that, because I have learned that even though it's not directly aimed at them because it's a comic book, but there's lots of fans that like these different styles that they cross over, and they may not advertise that they cross over as well, but a lot of these fans are crossing over, and most people don't realize it. And it was little markets that I believe it was, I think it was one of the shows by Perch on YouTube. And someone on there, he was talking about go into different avenues. Don't worry about just your comic book fans. Obviously, comic book fans, they love comics. But go into other avenues that your book is about. And that's where I started looking at my wrestling background. Started promoting to those fans, so that way maybe they like comics. If not, maybe they like the style of indie wrestling and they want to support it there, and maybe they become a comic book fan. You never know. The other thing on Kickstarter, a big thing that I'm hoping helps, I was literally a nobody. I'm still a nobody on Kickstarter, but I had nobody backed. I didn't back anybody. I didn't make anybody in any kind of industry. I wasn't really talking with nobody. This time I've gone through a lot of guys that are on Kickstarter that have funded their stuff. I've added them on Facebook. I've picked their brains, asking them what worked, what didn't work. And then I've only backed like 23, 24 comics right now, nowhere near what some people have. But backing the comics would show somebody that's interested in it. Like for me, when I'm looking at backing comics, I will back that one creator that don't really have nothing that they've backed, especially if they've had other books. But if they're brand new, it makes me more hesitant. I'll still do it because Kickstarter is an all or nothing thing. But at the same time, if they have backed other books, I'm more likely to give them a little higher or go for a higher reward, because I feel that they understand the premise of, yes, you're taking a risk by donating this money to this person, that they're going to give you your book. I unfortunately haven't been, quote unquote, screwed out of anything. Everybody has come through on fulfillment. Some have taken longer than others, but that's one thing I look at is if they're backing comics, they're more likely to be true to their word and not just trying to abuse the situation, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be a part of the community, um, back other people's books, talk to other creators, all that stuff. I think helps your own project too, right? Because when you show up for other people, they want to show up for you too. And I do think it is important to deliver. I remember my first project was like 3 years ago now, and it took us a year to fulfill. And I learned so much on that project. And so when I did my second and my third, it was like, okay, we're going to be ready to go like 100% by the time the book is print ready. By the time we launch our Kickstarter, it's going to be print ready. So you mentioned that you have a background in professional wrestling. Can you tell us what that is and why did you want to implement that into your comic books story?
So I've been doing graphic design since I was a preteen. I started in the old E-Federation world on MSN groups. Kind of aged myself a little bit there. But I started writing stories and stuff like that with the role-playing areas of professional wrestling. And then eventually, that's where I started my graphic design. I eventually started making connections with some local indie guys while I was in the military. And then just through connections and taking a shot, because I'm a true believer in you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I just randomly messaged at the time, the National Wrestling Alliance had just changed ownerships to Bruce Tharp and a group of guys in Texas from the previous owners in North Carolina. And I messaged them asking if they needed some web design help or graphic design help. So I was originally hired to just do the website. I worked my way up to being basically, without the title, basically the director of media for them, so to speak. I ran any kind of promotional material for them. I even produced the NWA Ringside magazine from 2014 to 2015. We had 7 magazines come out with people on the cover that are on TV now, that are on the mainstream AEW and WWE and New Japan. Seeing these guys when they were independents before they come professional now. So it's kind of awesome to me. Because of that, I got to work behind the scenes a lot, helping not necessarily storylines, but pitching ideas, looking at talent, watching all these different talents from all the different promotions all around. And I got to know a lot of good independent wrestlers. I got to learn the good and the bad of independent professional wrestling. Well, because of that, I decided, hey, I want to do some sort of comic with wrestling in there, but you've got a lot of them out there. There's a great company out there, Squared. I think it's Squared Circle Comics. I believe it's who it is. They do a lot of bio comics on your stars like the Rock and Roll Express. They did one on Gangrel, different things like that. But those are all stars that are known and are famous to professional wrestling fans. So I wanted to do something a little different. Take the indie world, because these people work normal jobs just like you and I. Then they turn around. They work on the weekends. They work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes multiple days, multiple nights, 6-7 hours away driving just to do a 20-minute match to drive home. For sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's a couple $100, but it's for the amount of stuff they do. It's because they love the job. So I wanted to implement that, but I'm a horror fan. I've always been a horror fan, so I've got to add a little twist because as much as people like wrestling fans, you got to have that hook. And to me, what better way than killing something? And you see a lot of comics, especially superheroes, it's always the hero that prevails. Well, mine kind of focuses on the villain, so to speak. He's the primary character.
So what is your kind of elevator pitch for heel turn?
My short elevator pitch is simply independent professional wrestling meets Dexter. It's about a guy named Ethan. He works as a call center rep Monday through Friday, dealing with people on the phone every day. On the weekends, he goes and entertains fans in extreme wrestling matches as a masked wrestler named Ethan Edwards, the Archangel of Extreme, Ethan Edwards. Well, there's a little twist. Everybody needs a hobby, right? So why not be a serial killer? The difference is most serial killers are driven for one particular reason or another, mental health, whatever. Ethan, you will discover, and if you actually go to our website, heelturncomic.com, you can download a free 5-page mini number 0 edition to kind of see what started it all. It's his first human kill before he becomes the sadistic serial killer that he is now. But you see different reasons to trip him. It's never the same thing. In this number 1 book, it's a fan that is haggling him and heckling him. Sorry, couldn't remember the word. Heckling him. And then in the second book, it's a promoter that stiffed him, where didn't want to pay him what was agreed upon, which happens a lot in professional independent wrestling. So it's different reasons every time. And it's a serial killer. He never uses the same weapon. He never uses the same disposal site. It's all different areas, different things like that. So what you would normally see on shows like Criminal Minds, it's a lot harder to track some of these people. And in real life, I've studied a lot of real life serial killers. So my search history would get me screwed if I ever got in trouble. But I've researched a lot of them because I want to see those that have gone on for years that were successful. What did they do? And then I've implemented bits and pieces. And if you're a fan of horror, you're a fan of various true crimes, you may catch on to different pieces throughout the story of, hey, oh, he pulled this from here. He pulled this from there. But at the same time, I had to go back home to professional wrestling. So there's a large tie into that as well.
It sounds really interesting. I like that he does have a bit of a code, though, because he's not just killing anybody. He's killing people that have wronged him. Awesome. Yeah, no, it sounds fantastic. I can't wait to check it out. I encourage everybody to go and search out Heel Turn Comic. There's a link in the description of this video. So, guys, go click on that link and check out Will's new book, Heel Turn. Will Peden, I want to thank you for being on Inside Comics, and I hope to see you next time. Peace, man.
Yep. Later.